The Chrysanthemum and the Sword was written by Ruth Benedict, an American anthropologist. The book was first published in 1946, during the final stages of World War II and after Japan's surrender. Benedict was asked by the U.S. government to study Japanese culture in order to better understand the country and its people. Since the U.S. and Japan were at war, she could not visit Japan herself. Instead, she relied on interviews with Japanese people living in America, books, films, and other research materials to form her conclusions. Despite these limitations, her work became one of the most influential studies on Japanese society and is still widely discussed today. Benedict aimed to explain the unique values, behaviors, and traditions of Japanese people to an American audience. At that time, Japan seemed very different from Western countries, and many Americans found it hard to understand why the Japanese acted the way they did, especially during the war. The title of the book, The Chrysanthemum and the Sword, reflects the two sides of Japanese culture that Benedict wanted to highlight. The chrysanthemum represents beauty, refinement, and art, while the sword symbolizes discipline, duty, and the warrior spirit. These two aspects, which may seem contradictory, exist together in Japanese society. One of the key ideas Benedict explores is the strong sense of duty and hierarchy in Japan. In Western cultures, people often see personal freedom as very important. However, in Japan, people's actions are often guided by their obligations to others. Benedict explains that Japanese society has a structured system of relationships where each person has a specific role to play. This system is based on respect, loyalty, and responsibility, and it influences how people behave in daily life. For example, a child must respect and obey their parents, a worker must be loyal to their company, and a soldier must be willing to sacrifice for the country. Another important concept Benedict discusses is the idea of shame versus guilt. In Western cultures, people often think about right and wrong based on personal guilt. If someone does something bad, they feel guilty even if nobody knows about it. However, in Japan, Benedict argues that people are more concerned about shame. This means that what others think is very important. If a person's actions bring shame to their family or community, it is seen as a serious failure. This idea explains why honor and reputation matter so much in Japanese culture. People try hard to avoid bringing disgrace to themselves and their loved ones. Benedict also describes how Japan has a deep tradition of discipline and self-control. She explains that children are raised with strict rules and are taught to endure difficulties without complaining. This is linked to the idea of gamen, which means patience and perseverance. Japanese people believe that enduring hardship without showing weakness is a sign of strength. This can be seen in the way people respond to challenges, whether in personal life, work, or even in times of disaster. The ability to maintain calmness in difficult situations is considered a virtue, and this cultural trait is still observed today. At the same time, Benedict shows that Japanese culture is not just about discipline and duty. There is also a great appreciation for beauty, nature, and harmony. Japanese art, literature, and traditions like the tea ceremony reflect a deep sense of aesthetics. People take time to enjoy simple things, such as the changing seasons or the delicate beauty of a flower. This is the chrysanthemum side of Japan, the part that values refinement and elegance. Traditional Japanese gardens, poetry like haiku, and seasonal festivals all reflect this appreciation of nature and art. Even in modern Japan, these values remain strong, with a continued emphasis on quality and aesthetics in daily life, from food presentation to urban design. Another major theme in the book is how Japanese people view war and peace. During World War II, Americans were shocked by the extreme loyalty and bravery of Japanese soldiers, especially the kamikaze pilots who were willing to die for their country. Benedict explains that this willingness to sacrifice comes from a deep-rooted cultural belief in duty and honor. However, she also points out that Japanese society has a long history of valuing peace and harmony. After the war, Japan was able to rebuild and transform itself into a peaceful and prosperous nation, showing its ability to adapt and change. This shift from militarism to pacifism after World War II is an important example of Japan's flexibility in shaping its national identity. One of the most interesting parts of the book is Benedict's discussion of gift-giving in Japan. In Western cultures, giving gifts is usually a simple act of kindness or generosity. But in Japan, giving and receiving gifts is a complex social practice that carries deep meaning. There are specific rules about what kind of gift to give, when to give it, and how to accept it. The act of giving is not just about the object itself, but also about maintaining relationships and showing respect. This is another example of how Japanese culture emphasizes social harmony and obligations. The concept of giri, or duty, plays a significant role in this tradition. It extends beyond gift-giving into everyday interactions, reinforcing the strong sense of responsibility and respect within society. Benedict's book was groundbreaking because it helped Western readers see Japanese culture from a new perspective. Instead of viewing Japan as just an enemy nation, she encouraged people to understand its traditions and values. However, some critics argue that her work is too simplified. Since she could not visit Japan herself, she had to rely on second-hand sources, which may not have given her the full picture. Some Japanese scholars feel that her descriptions do not capture the complexity of their culture. Others say that Japan has changed a lot since the 1940s, so some of her observations may not be as relevant today. Modern globalization, technological advancements, and social shifts have influenced Japanese culture, yet many traditional values that Benedict identified still persist. Despite these criticisms, The Chrysanthemum and the Sword remains an important book for anyone interested in Japanese culture. It offers valuable insights into the way Japanese society is structured and helps readers understand the historical roots of many customs and traditions. Even today, some of the ideas Benedict discussed can be seen in Japanese life, such as the emphasis on respect, duty, and harmony. While Japan has modernized significantly, the deep cultural foundations that Benedict described still influence the way Japanese people interact, work, and maintain social order. The balance between tradition and progress continues to shape Japan's identity in the 21st century. In conclusion, Ruth Benedict's The Chrysanthemum and the Sword is a fascinating study of Japanese culture that explores the balance between discipline and beauty, duty, and personal expression. Through her research, she provides a way for readers to understand the deep traditions that shape Japanese society. While some aspects of Japan have changed since the book was written, its core themes continue to be relevant.